We are live. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of well, I guess which is it's just the left wing now. It's always live. Live with the left wing. How you
Well,
doing
this
this
is
day,
this
John?
is our specific live show
Yeah.
that we do. It's more like audience focused, whereas the traditional show is a little more guest focused. So
Yeah. It's just
we'll,
shooting the breeze, you know? Just
we'll figure it out as time. I'm sure we'll have like an actual reason to have this show at one point.
well, honestly, I mean, it's just look, it's just fun. It's just fun. The like I love just having the opportunity to talk to other creators and stuff and get their opinions on political stuff. It's the best part of doing this, honestly, and it's I love it. I wouldn't trade
And
it for anything.
honestly, TJ, like if I would love to get to a point in life where we can just sit down and do this.
Yeah,
Like
right.
if I ever get to the point where we can just sit down and do, I don't even care if I'm making money off of this, but if we can just hire someone to do all of the admin stuff for us
I know,
and
right?
make enough money to pay them, they can have all of it. I don't
It's
care.
the actual work that gets in the way for
Yes,
us, you know. It's
this
the
this this work is getting in the way of my work.
typical leftist, just want everything handed over to us. It's like,
Honestly, that
uh,
might be the most fucking anti-capitalist thing I ever said. I own the shit, but I'm going to give all
why
my
should we?
money
Yeah.
to the workers.
Well, speaking of working, yeah, we when I threw this up, I was like, so this Ben Shapiro thing, I wanted to get this one out here because I figured if we did it tomorrow and it's posted several days later, the story will be too old. So I
Uh-huh.
just wanted to get, and it's an easy one.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
it's not a big story, but it's definitely like 24-hour news window here.
right, exactly. It's just fun. And so yeah, so for those of you who didn't see, Ben Shapiro came out, I think it was yesterday, stating that he thought it was a ridiculous idea for people to retire at 65 and insinuated people were just lazy for wanting to retire at 65. He said there's no reason for people to retire at 65. He also said it's funny that we haven't raised the retirement age, which is hilarious because we have. It's like retirement age. So if you were born in 1955, this year my dad was born, for those of you who were curious, his retirement age is 66, and everyone after 1960, their retirement will be at 67. So it has been risen, unbeknownst to Ben Shapiro. But he pointed out that whenever Social Security was first enacted under FDR, life expectancy was 60. Well, it was like 64 and Social Security was 63, something like that. Life expectancy was a year longer than Social Security, which makes me want to ask Ben Shapiro. So is he saying Social Security should start the year before or the year after life expectancy? Like if you're expected to die at 75, Social Security is at 76. Is that what he's going for? Because that's what it sounded like to me.
I mean, it's not that he's going for anything, TJ. he just
Good point.
he
Good
just
point.
wants to cut Social Security. Like that's the whole any reasoning for that goal is what he's gonna say. Because like that's just what they want at the end of the day, which I also don't understand, like from a political perspective or even an economic one. Like I get going after spending, especially like welfare, like it has a certain coding, but like Social Security is pretty darn popular, especially with the relatively older Republican base. This would actually make a little bit more sense as a Democrat issue, just because our base isn't as, likely to be collecting Social Security. But like, I just don't get who this, like, I don't understand how this even benefits wealthy people. Like, you're not getting taxed that much. Like, if you're like a super wealthy person, you're a fucking capitalist, you're part of the ruling class, your Social Security taxes aren't that high. It's not fucking bothering you. And it causes you to not, it in part causes you to not have to have a pension anymore. So like, I feel like this is a win-win scenario for the capitalists. And I don't understand who is behind it, who's going to benefit from getting rid of Social Security. Maybe it's just clicks. I don't fucking know.
I do. I have a pretty good opinion on why he or who happens benefits. First, I don't think this could work for Democrats because even when Republicans say
No,
this,
it couldn't. I'm just saying it would make more. It doesn't make sense either way. But
it's true. Well, so for the Republicans though, like remember Nikki Haley, she was saying a few months back that 65 is way too young for Social Security and that needs to be risen, but only for younger people. So the people who actually vote Republican, they're not going to be affected by this. Your Social Security is fine. The Social Security for younger folks, we need to go ahead and raise that. And that way they can keep their voters. And there's nothing old people love doing more than shitting on young people. So they're like, oh yeah, put those kids to work. Not me though. So we kind of benefit them that way. Also, I think that the push towards making people work longer is there is an economic reason for it, is that they don't want to lose those workers in the workforce. They want more worker bees to help them make more money, because you're not making them more money sitting at home. So, if you're a 65-year-old in the workforce, that helps the owner. A 65-year-old leaving doesn't really help them. So it's kind of and also as far as the taxation goes, because this actually ties into another tweet Ben Shapiro made about this, where he said that you either have to raise them to fix the Social Security problem and allow people to retire at 65. You either need to what do you say? To fix Social Security, you either need to raise the retirement age, or you need to raise taxes on middle-class workers. And hilarious, those were his only two options. Like, raising taxes on upper class never entered his mind. It never entered his mind. And that's where I think another way it plays into benefit people in the upper class is that they know that one of the main ways to shore up Social Security is to remove the cap. And so for those of you who are unaware, Social Security on income is capped at something like $169,000, somewhere around there. And if you make more than that, you don't pay into Social Security anymore after that. So like, say, I don't know, you're a CEO and your income is, 1.5 million a year. You only pay Social Security tax on roughly $170,000. And so it saves them a lot of money because opting out of that. So yeah, I can see why they would do this, because there are like marginal benefits in it for them.
Yeah, and I'm looking up something real quick. But to speak to a couple points you just made, one, hold on. Okay, interesting. Okay, never mind. I was looking up to see if non-citizen residents can receive Social Security, and it turns out that they can. But even then, so the point I'm trying to make here is that, yeah, we can do this by raising taxes on existing Americans. That's one way to extend the life of Social Security. And it would make sense if wealthy people, like, the obvious answer here is to get rid of the cap. You're perfectly right about that. So if the impetus behind this is to avoid getting rid of the cap, because that would significantly contribute to the amount of taxes wealthy people are paying, I can see that. It's like, because they can't say that. They can't make that argument.
Right. You don't want to say that out loud. Right, yeah.
So they have to say something else, And so, again, we're socializing this. Everyone's got to chip in a little bit more,
Yeah.
We don't need, like,
they're coming after your money. They're coming after
But I do have to say, like, it still doesn't make sense to me. Like, because you said, yeah, you don't want workers retiring, but a lot of these companies do. Like, I know it's a serious trend where companies try to push out older workers who are 65 to 70 to 75, who they can't fire, but also are doing a not much different of a job than a 30-year-old would be able to do, and making twice as much money. And so, like, there is a big push from companies to get older, like, employees to retire a lot of the time. Not all the time, but, like, that is a thing. So it's just weird that we have these two. I don't know who wants it. Like, I don't know specifically who is the push behind it. I get Ben Shapiro harking against it, because Ben Shapiro is a content creator. It gets clicks. I don't get why, like, actual Republican politicians take that stance.
There's also another interest involved here, and that is investment firms and hedge fund managers. Because if we got rid of Social Security, because what Republicans like to say a lot, you hear this from conservatives all the time, where they say, well, historically, investing in the stock market will get you a 10% yield on average for your investment. And so if people weren't forced to invest in Social Security, and instead they invested all their earnings into the stock market, they could make more money that way. And that's why Social Security is theft. Of course, that's a bullshit argument, because, yeah, on average, that's what you get. But a lot of people won't make that average. And what are we going to do with those folks? We're going to let them starve to death when they're 70 years old? Good.
And also, people just won't do it.
And
Like,
people
we
will
know,
not do
we
it. Yes,
know,
this is
we have
yes,
the evidence. It's not going to happen.
it's
You
not
can
gonna
wish
happen.
it could happen all you want. I
Right.
wish it rained fucking chocolate drops, but like, it's not
Yeah.
going to fucking happen. Like,
Right. And then they'll about, well, personal responsibility. It's like, okay, get the fuck out of here. That's not, that's not going to work. People are going to use that on the meager existence they have in the first place. So they always divert towards that. And so, if you are on Wall Street and you want to get your grubby little hands on that sweet, sweet Social Security money, this is a great way to do it. It's like, oh, let's get rid of Social Security or raise it. And ultimately, they would love to get rid of it. But like you said, that would actually be poison. You couldn't possibly do that. So this is actually, I think I wrote in the description for this that it's been funny watching Republicans over the years just devolve into cavemen. And essentially, they over the last like year and a half, we've seen Republicans come out against football, pop stars, casual sex, and now Social Security. Like the most beloved things on planet Earth, let alone the United States. And they just can't help themselves. They love just shitting on stuff people love.
did you see the video recently that went? It was like a Twitter post and it went viral, and it was like some conservative, like fucking trad wife influencer sort of person, and it was like this video of this incredibly fucking beautiful Southern like outdoorsy farmer type girl. Like small, fairly not curvy figure, but very pretty. And they're like, oh, this is like the type of fucking woman liberals want. I'm like, yeah, you want to give her over here? Like, yeah, no, we're cool with that. She was always on your team, but if you want to send her over here, that's fine with me. I'm not going to complain.
Was she like in like a flannel and had dark hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was like two videos. There was one in a flannel, and no, I think it was dark hair, and there was another one like just like a white tank top or something.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that. I was like scrolling and saw it because they were talking about what were they talking about? About tomboys, and it's like how now we got tomboys too. It's like they're getting rid of everything cool about the United States and culture. It's just that they're driving themselves in the ground with this shit.
What is going to be left? Like what?
Right.
What are they gonna like jettison next? Like, are they gonna get rid of fucking? I don't know. We're gonna get war. Actually, we're gonna get war. They're gonna become the anti-war party. and as much as that sounds like a joke, I actually, if either party is gonna become anti-war, I actually think it's the Republicans.
I mean, so it depends. It's just going to depend which war. Like
neither is going.
Yeah, neither is.
But
yeah.
If I were to put the betting odds on which one it would be, it's probably more likely to be Republicans, and that fucking sucks.
To revert to this like isolationist style philosophy. I can see that happening. I can see that happening. It's just that they're not going to be able to help themselves. Whenever Israel attacks Palestine, they're going to be on board. They are. There's certain people that they won't mind war going to because we need to save Western civilization, from the mongrel hordes. I can see them like they're not going to be able to resist that, not for a long time at least. And it is just wild how this happens. I got off track of Ben Shapiro. I wanted to mention one more thing.
Yeah, let's go back to Ben. Yeah,
I want to mention one more thing. Is that so? One of Ben's arguments was that something we talked about before, that people need some kind of purpose in life. That I mentioned that my dad, when he retired from the Army, he was like 42, 43 years old. And he was talking about how he knew people. This is like 20 years ago. And he said he knew people who would retire and just not do anything, and they die fairly quickly because, without something to do, people do tend to pass on. And so he went and started a business because he always wanted to stay active and everything. And Ben Shapiro mentioned this. He's like, well, retiring is actually bad for you because if you retire and you don't have any purpose in your life, you could die. And then immediately afterward, he said that, it's unfair to have the American taxpayers pay for someone's retirement because people could live up to 85 years now. It's not unheard of people to live that long. So you retire 65, you live 20 years doing nothing, and people are paying for it. Like, okay, Ben, which one is it? Are they going to die in 5 years, or are they going to be, sucking off the teat of the hardworking taxpayer for 20? You can't have it both ways, man. But like you said, the argument doesn't make any sense. So you're just, scattershot all over the place. And it reminded me of Steven Crowder. I'm sure you guys are familiar with him, but I remember Steven Crowder. I wrote this down a while ago. Steven Crowder talked about how he didn't agree with the idea of retirement. And he also brought up the fact that retirement is mentioned nowhere in the Bible, as if that mattered at all. He's like, there's no concept of retirement in the Bible. It's just, I don't know, it's bad arguments and bad politics, which often go hand in hand, but rarely so starkly as you see with this retirement thing.
It is interesting because if you look at like conservatism throughout history, respect for the elderly and taking care of our old is like an important fucking core principle. And
Mhm.
that has just shattered over the last 80 years. And honestly, we don't do it too much either, to be fair. Like obviously we want, things for everyone, but like we don't like specifically talk about, oh, we need to respect our elders, we need to, take care of our elderly. It kind of, just happens, with all the other things we advocate for, but it's not really a core value for a lot of progressives. Whereas I would argue that for a lot of conservatives, that still is a core value, and which is why I say it's weird. It's just a weird position for them to take philosophically. That's not uncommon, but
Yeah.
it's weird.
Well,
But the one thing you said, I want to say, and then I'll throw it back to you, is that you definitely made the better point about how it doesn't make sense to both say retirement is going to kill you and you're living too long now.
yeah.
Like you should be able to hear those sentences come out of your mouth and go, wait a second, those didn't make sense next to each other. But the other point here is, and why I always hate when conservatives say this, like the thing that Ben Shapiro is doing that gives his life purpose, anyone can do that after they retire.
Yep.
Anyone, trust me, anyone can set up this fucking computer and get on this goddamn app and live stream something and talk into a microphone. Will you do it as lucratively as Ben Shapiro does? No, you won't. Will you do it as successfully as even I do? Probably not. But you can do it. It can give you purpose. Like when I was unemployed over the summer, this was the thing that gave me purpose. I spent more time doing this and job searching, but this is what I did. It gave me my purpose in life. I didn't have to have a job that was paying me in order to have that purpose driving me to get up in the morning. It's just such a dumb thing that the only thing that can give us purpose is what the capitalist class pays us to do.
Yeah. And you're not gonna, rupture a disc in your back podcasting or doing a talk show.
Well, you know what, TJ? I've been having back problems because I said too much. So I would like to tap the brakes on that one.
This is
a dangerous job, TJ.
I saw a funny video on Instagram or TikTok the other day where it talked about how for millennials, if you didn't work in the service industry, like you saw that? Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Say it for the audience because they might not have seen it.
Yeah, so if you're a millennial who didn't work in the service industry, if you weren't, retail or fast food, you're essentially like a boomer who never went to Vietnam. You missed out on all you weren't in the shit like we were. You don't got any room to talk. And what I wanted to mention about this, so you talked about how conservatives make a big deal about caring for the elderly and why it's so weird that they're ousting this program that cares for the elderly. Well, I tell you what, you already know what they would say. They would say that it's not the government's job to care for my elderly father or mother. It's my job. And so, it's you take care of your grandparents. Don't allow taxpayers to subsidize their laziness. And so Ben Shapiro actually made a point like this where he talked about how he kept going on. It was wild. Talk about how retirement has been horrible for society, how it's been the worst thing we've ever done. And he mentioned something that families aren't together as much anymore because in the days before Social Security, that's exactly what would happen. You would get too old to work and you'd have to move in with one of your children and one of your children's families. And you would help them out around the house and you would help them raise their kids and everything. And he says, yeah. And, families just don't exist as much as they did back in the people are having fewer and fewer kids. People don't know their neighbors. Hey, he just went down through a rundown of like every critique we've made of capitalism, for years now, and without realizing how it affects Social Security. And I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but yeah, it's just it's bad. It's just bad all around, and it's been funny to watch them jettison the elderly just like they did during COVID. Like you're right, they don't really care about them at all.
This is just a brainstorm, an indecent proposal to solve this issue.
All right.
Let's say at the age of 50, we give anyone and everyone the opportunity to retire early. Or, 45. You can retire at 45, right? From whatever fucking thing you're doing when you're 45. In order to do this, you have to give 10 years of service to the government. So the government can pay for whatever education you need to become a social worker, to become a nurse, to become a cop, to become a whatever. you give 10 years of service to the government, 65, or yeah, let's do 55, and then 65, you're done. And you can start this process at 50 by getting the education that you need. I feel like that should solve this for a hell of a lot of people, because it solves a lot of the shortages we have in teaching and nursing and whatever the fucking government wants people to be doing. They can just say, hey, you don't like your fucking career at 45, 50, you can change. We'll pay for all of your expenses in life, up to a certain amount. You just need to be able to do this for 10 years. And they do it for 10 years. And if they want to keep doing it, because this is a valuable thing that actually provides value, unlike my fucking job, moving numbers around. Like I imagine that could actually be a successful program. Again, this is coming straight out of my ass, but I feel like the details might be iffy, but the logic here doesn't seem. I don't hate the logic here.
So what I was thinking about is the military. So what happens in the military a lot of times is, so you serve 20 years in the military, you can retire. Now, the way the classic military retirement worked was, I think it is that you serve 20 years and then they take the average of your top 3 highest paid years and they pay you for retirement either 50% of that or 45, 55, somewhere around half of that. You can get paid for the rest of your life. And what a lot of people in the military do is they'll retire. It's like, say you join the army at 21 years old, and then you retire at 63 or at 42, 43. I was
gonna say, you made a jump there.
Yeah. So you retire at 42, 43. You then get a federal government job and work 20 more years. And by the time you're done with that, you retire from that job too. And so you get double retirement paychecks by the time you're 65. It happens all the time. People in the military do it all the time. So there is but the only flaw in that is that you'd have to join the military first to do it. But so a lot of people in the military do take advantage of that. But yeah, I think that it should start a little earlier, actually. So, people talk about, speaking of military, how you should have a voluntary, enlistment into the military, like when you're involuntary enlistment into the United States military. I think that's absurd. But I have always liked the idea of a federal jobs guarantee, kind of like Tennessee Valley Authority shit that they did back in the Great Depression. That if you are a high school graduate and you want a job, the government will find you one. We'll find something for you to do. And they did this with, it didn't matter what your skill was. You're like, yeah, I like painting. All right, we're going to find you a job, painting buildings, painting sidewalks, anything, like any random shit. If you want a job, we will find one for you. I kind of like that. And then if you stick around with that for long enough, I always wonder why we have 20-year retirement for the military. I never, I get you can't have soldiers that are too old. I do understand that. But, why do you automatically get the retirement benefits of 20 years when no one else does? I think it just you could compound it, right? Yeah, you could compound that and try to work out the system there. But I do like this idea. And I don't see the reason to wait till you're 45 or 50 to start. To do it at any time.
So what I'm hearing is that in order to free up money for Social Security, I need to go around, knocking off vets. So we have retiring so early.
well, actually, you know what? Now that you say that, I do realize it, because most people don't make it to 20 years or retire in any fashion. It's like, I think it's something crazy. Like 70% of the people join the military only serve 3 or 4 years. So a very, very small percentage of people make it to 20 years. So it's not a whole lot of money they're actually spending out on this. Not that you mentioned it.
That's fair. But, but that's the thing. Like, it does confuse me. There's extremes, obviously, but I feel like there's a very obvious middle ground when it comes to that serves a couple things: retirement, college, all of these things, where it's just like, we have very clear and obvious public sector shortages right now, many of which require training and education. And we have a workforce full of people who are disenchanted with their jobs. It doesn't seem like the most difficult environment to be able to just shift the incentives so that more people become teachers, nurses, EMTs, whatever the fuck, and it really shouldn't be as difficult as it is. And I feel like this is one of those, because we said this rant against Social Security from conservatives doesn't really make sense. It's a culture war thing, honestly. Like it only makes sense in the in the context of the culture war, but from like an ideological perspective, it doesn't make sense. And I feel like this is one of those issues. And this is what I was going to say earlier, which I totally got sidetracked on, is like, yeah, the options for extending Social Security, raise the cap. Okay, cool. You're not going to do that. Fine. Make people retire later, which good luck, bro. Like really good luck with that, Ben. I wish you the best. It's about as likely as me getting my UBI. And the option 3, and I hate to break this to conservatives, is to just get more young working people. And how do we do that?
Oh no. We can't do that.
We do it like we do getting more of every resource that we don't have, we import it. And luckily, we have millions of people who want to come here and pay our Social Security taxes to take care of our elderly. But you know who the elderly don't want paying their Social Security? Fucking immigrants.
Yeah,
it's the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing, but it is the right answer. Like, that's just obviously the right answer. We have the luxury of doing that. And to the extent that we can significantly hurt other countries by doing it if we really wanted to. But like, we can, so why not? Like, so many other, France, Japan, fucking Germany, like all of these countries are going to have a hard time with this demographic issue, but we're not, because young working class people want to come here all the time.
Yeah, it really does show what conservatives actually care about. I was having a discussion with a guy I went to college with, and he sent me a message talking about, it was this thing about unions and saying how, hey, it was a guy talking to a Trump supporter about unions and how Trump has been like famously anti-union his entire public life, and he's always shitting on them and saying how bad they are for business. And he's like, yeah, so you're a big union guy. He goes, yeah, I didn't know that about Trump. That's kind of unsettling. I am less likely to support him now. And he said this would be a good method to win over union conservatiors. They're always talking about how people should go out to trade school, get a good union job.
Union conservative. I don't even understand.
Well, no. So like, a lot of conservatives are blue collar workers, and they're in unions. It's a lot of them. Like, it's not.
Oh no, I know.
I
just don't understand ideologically.
Yeah. Well, here's why. Because
you understand the benefits of collectivism, but you're a conservative. It just doesn't make sense.
Well,
I don't think about it, but
Yeah, and someone was like, yeah, I remember the first time I tried this. I was in middle Wisconsin. I just went to this bar, and I've just been waiting for someone. It's because I remember the only one, my friend group there. And I was sitting at the bar, and I just struck up this conversation with like this 60-year-old man, and we're just chatting, having a good time. And we went into politics somehow, and I was talking about how conservatives are horrible for working class individuals and how they want to limit your health care, and they want to give more money and power to your boss, and they want to hurt unions and everything. And this became this, like, what happened next was something that's happened every single time I try this, and where you get them on board with all this, and then they say, yeah, but did you hear there's a man in a dress reading books at my public library? And, my local GOP representative, Chud Truckley, said he's going to put a stop to this. And so he's got my vote. So that's what I say. This shows what they actually care about. Like, they say they care about the working man. They say they care about families. They say they care about, keeping society knit together and moral values. But what they actually care about is, harming the other, like the immigrants, the black people, the Hispanic people, the Native Americans, Muslims, queer. It's like that's all that they really care about. That's what motivates them and drives them to the polls. Like, you're not going to see, you'll never see like a convoy of Republicans out there supporting workers' rights. It's never going to happen. But they get rock hard when it comes to putting up a wall at the southern border, because that's what they really care about.
It's interesting. So this is one of the very few areas that we might disagree on, and I could be wrong about this. I agree with you that what motivates them to go to the polls and vote and who they're going to support, that's what it is. But I don't agree that that's what they care about more, because I feel like from many conversations with conservatives, that stuff is pretty bottom of the totem pole stuff. Like, when you really get into it and like talk with them about what they care about, they tend to care more about, the basic the same shit I care about, being able to, save money and have a place to live and put food on the table. Like, that's what most people care about. And I feel like one of the issues is that our side doesn't do a good enough job of connecting our policy with the things that actually motivate people. Because when he's talking about the guy in the dress, I don't think he actually, like, he's not thinking about like we do. He's not thinking about academic. He's just like, hey, that's a threatening thing, and I don't like the threatening thing, and I'm not going to investigate why I feel threatened. I'm just going to be like, oh, we need to get rid of that. And that guy, he wants to get rid of the threatening thing. The guy who's telling me that like we need to like give universal health care to people, I don't feel very threatened because this is the way it's existed my entire life. I feel more threatened by the change than anything else. And I feel like that's what drives them, the fear. It isn't necessarily anti-immigrant or anti-poor person or anti-gay person or whatever the fuck it is. I think a lot of the times it is fear. And the best thing we can do on the left, I feel like, is to make people less afraid. But I feel like a lot of the times what we do on the left is to make people more afraid. The problem is we expect them to fear the things we fear, and they don't because they don't understand them. I might have said a lot of words to make a small point, but that's how I genuinely think about it.
So I think you're kind of making a distinction without a difference here. Is that yeah, like their most important issue are like the bizarre culture war shit. Yeah, that's the most important issue because that's what they're most afraid of, and that's true. I mean, I'm just saying that it's irrational, and we can't. It's hard to overcome that fear by bringing them back into reality. Like if I've convinced you that there's an orange dragon that breathes mustard gas that's going to be coming into your community in the middle of the night, you're going to be terrified of that. And I was like, okay, yeah, but don't worry about that because, there's a 9-cent tax on the toll road coming. You're not going to give a shit about that. You're going to be worried about the imminent fear that's coming for you and your family. And if you're convinced that, the demon rats are bringing in, for example, I pulled up the primary or Super Tuesday primary, and they asked people what they thought what was the most important issue was for voters in Virginia. The number one most important issue for them was immigration. In Virginia, that was it was the most important issue. Also in North Carolina, I didn't see the other states here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the number one issue in every Republican state. It's an irrational fear, but that doesn't mean that it's not, their genuine beliefs is their most important issue. It's just hard to convince them otherwise when they're so infused with hatred on like the bullshit culture war stuff.
It is hard. It is hard, TJ. It's not easy. And from a broad scale messaging perspective, I don't know what the right answer is. Like it is hard to change that on a large scale.
Yeah,
but I do. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, well, so what I say is, I'm pretty sure you agree with me on this. Is that's why I don't put a whole lot of stock into trying to change people's minds on essentially anything. I don't. It's what I say about elections is that we spend way too much time focused on persuasion when we should be focused on mobilization. Getting one person or any group of people to change their minds on stuff is a long-term fucking project. It could take you weeks, months, years sometimes just to get a crack in the armor somewhere. No, I'm not going to waste my time on that. I'm going to, focus on getting people who already agree with me, and I know they outnumber, the rubes, and focus on that. So yeah, I am under no illusion that most or even some, like a good portion of these right wingers are gonna open their eyes and see the truth. It's like maybe it'd be great if it happens, but I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. I'm gonna worry about getting more people like us to go out and try to change this.
I don't disagree with you, but I have a different perspective.
Okay.
Because you are 100% right. If your goal is to like enact policy, the number one thing you can do is get out the vote. Like it is so much more cost effective for your time, money, and effort to get people who agree with you to go vote than it is to try and convince people who disagree with you that they're wrong. So like with that, I'm 100% on board. The different perspective I have is that doesn't interest me. Like, I totally see the value, but I do this for free, and that just doesn't, get me up in the morning. What gets me up in the morning is changing minds. And so, like, um, here's the way I put it: if I can change one mind, that has a massive butterfly effect. I feel like the people who are watching my content, like, I'm not getting out the vote. Like, I do not have the work ethic, the focus, the desire to have a consistent campaign where I'm going to be getting people out to vote who wouldn't have otherwise voted. The people who watch my content, they're probably going to go fucking vote anyway. You know what I mean? And they're probably going to vote Democrat. And so, like, it doesn't, from my perspective, it doesn't behoove me to make content with the intention of getting our side out to vote. For other people, they should do that. But for myself, I don't see the benefit. And so, like, I try to make my content as best as possible, craft it to change people's minds. And occasionally I throw out the bone to hype up the base and, do all of that. But again, it just doesn't get me going. And I feel like the best way to do that when you're trying to change a mind is to validate their feelings no matter how real they are. And that's the thing, something I have found in life. One of the biggest lessons I've ever learned that has changed my life for the better is to not try, when someone disagrees with you because of an emotional reason, if you try and reason them out of it, you're never going to win. But if you validate their feelings and have patience, eventually you will, because you are right. And as long as they feel validated and continue talking to you, they will eventually come around to the right position. Eventually. Now, can that happen on a massive scale? No, because there's no trust there. But on an interpersonal scale, and that's why, like, when I make content, my goal is to give people the vocabulary that they can use to change people's minds in their own life. And so, like, that's where I usually come at it from. And that's just a different perspective. I agree with what you're saying. But that's the perspective I come at it from.
Yeah. I kind of see changing people's mind as like the cherry on the sundae, honestly, because it is a great. So in my travels, I've noticed that changing people's mind isn't something that I can actively try to do, because for a long time I did. I would try to, I would argue, I would debate, and be respectful and do whatever I can. Sometimes the respect meter runs out. It happens. Happens sometimes.
It does.
Yeah, there's only so much you can handle. But what I have noticed is some ways in which it does work, and like I said, it does take a long time. Is that it only really works when they are looking for your opinion first. That's what I've noticed over the years, is that first they have to respect you. That's the number one thing. If they don't respect your opinion, then it doesn't matter what you say. Like, who gives a shit? It's some guy that I don't care about telling me what he thinks. They don't care. But if they believe that you are, smart and honest, they're gonna take your opinion seriously. And so people ask me, "Hey, how do I change someone's mind?" It's like, no, wait till they ask you. Like, when you get that message or that text or something, like, "Hey, what do you think about this issue?" And the person's like right leaning or a moderate conservative or something, and say, "I'd like to get your opinion on this." Got them. Like, it won't be today, it won't be tomorrow, may not be this year, but eventually they're gonna, come around to your point of view, because they value your point of view. And like, they could get this explanation from anybody. They could go to the Google machine and find it. They could look up their favorite, right-wing hack Daily Wire host. What do you say about it? But they asked you. And the fact that they asked you means that they're going to think about that. They may not even agree with you, but they value what you have to say enough to at least take it into consideration. And once that happens, it's just a passive game. That's how I play. That's how I play. It's like, now the content I make and everything, yeah, I'll bust balls and everything like that. But I don't really make it in mind with trying to change people's mind. Although it does work on like a secondary scale, because I'll get comments from people saying that, "Oh, I don't agree with this guy, but I like the way he thinks." I'm like, just a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
Yeah,
I got him.
no, I if you tip out there to anyone who disagrees with us but also likes, like, engaging, or this could be us, this could be any content creator, especially in the political sphere that you can easily get them to respond to you if you just pay them a small compliment. If you say something like, "Yo, bro, I disagree with you, but I like the way you said this. What do you think about this?" You want your either favorite or most hated content creator.
That's a great point, John. That is a really good point.
That probably has if I see that, it probably has a 90% success rate that I'll respond to it.
That's a great point. That is such a great point because it's true. It's because, look, if you guys honestly, you don't even have to make content to understand this. So just being on social media, period, and posting articles or pictures or whatever, there's some people out there who just live to be like in the haters ball, the Dave Chappelle sketch or whatever, and they just love hating on you for no reason. Now, if you every day you're posting political opinions, you're gonna get a lot of people who just can't wait to shit talk you, and so and then you'll get people like, yeah, you got it, man. That's the majority of people. It's black and white. I'm for you or against you. But every once in a while, you're like, hey, look, I really respect what this guy has to say, and you got some good thoughts here. I may not be on your team, but I like what it's a breath of fresh air. It's so calming to see that shit. That's a great point, man.
Something I've noticed talking with liberal blue MAGA style, especially content creators, is I go through their comments and it's all you go.
Yes, it's boring.
It's just like you go, girl. You got him. And it's like, what if I get all comments like that, I'm incredibly bored. I'm just like, this is dumb. I'm upset that this type of person wants to comment. No offense. I love all of it. Keep doing it. It helps. It is just as good for the algorithm as an insightful comment. But I'm not going to fucking respond to it because it bores me. I'm much more likely to respond to someone who hates me. Which, another tip out there. But be respectful. Give a different opinion, but be respectful, or add to the opinion. Don't just say you're right.
Well,
I'm not going to care about it. I have plenty of people telling me I'm right. It happens all the time.
Yeah, when you're right all the time, this tends to be your lived experience. But what's interesting to me, when I'm thinking about it, is I would prefer 50 comments that are like, dude, you're awesome, this is great, then you suck, man, I would much rather
I would prefer that. I would prefer 50 comments that say, yo, man, I disagree with you, but I respect your opinion. What do you think about this? To 50, yo, you're the best, you're perfect.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
Because it shows that you've engaged their thought process, whatever. But one thing I want to mention is, I know you've gone through. I know you've noticed this because I noticed this a lot. But I do my best not to read comments. I hate to tell the people out there. I do my best not to read them, honestly. And I mentioned that to you guys earlier. But on YouTube, I don't read the comments. I just don't. On TikTok, they kind of force you to, because when you open the TikTok app, boom, they show you the comments. So I read those, and I got no choice. But one thing that's always fascinated me are how many right wingers watch my content or our content, or I guess yours less so, because you kind of do the whole debate thing or whatever. But I have so many right wingers that hate watch my account, and I was like, why? I just I am not I saw this Ben Shapiro clip, but that's only because, I saw people posting the clip making fun of him. I am not watching, hours of Daily Wire or Tucker Carlson or Steven Crowder content. I am not doing that. Why would you guys put yourselves through this? Like what's going on that you need to watch people just dismantling your entire and don't tell me it's because an intellectual curious. Get the fuck out of here. If you were intellectually curious, you would not be a conservative. So don't pretend that's the case. But it's weird that they do this so often. I don't know what is the missing part of your soul that makes you sit there and have to do that from an anonymous account. Don't have the balls to actually put your face up there. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
I can't hear you, John. I lost you.
Oh, you lost me? Can you not? Fuck.
Or is it my audio, maybe?
I don't know. I'm hoping. I'm trying to figure that out.
Let me see. Hey, can you guys hear John? You can comment that?
Yes, if anyone is. How many people? You can't hear me.
I see two people here. I don't know if you were on in the background or something. Oh, that's weird. Let me see.
Well, guys, I'm pretty sure that my audio is working.
Hey, the real G Money, can you hear John?
That's the real question. Yeah, I'm gonna keep
His mic is
talking.
working. Oh, no,
Yeah,
maybe it's
okay,
me
so
then. Okay, hold
so
on.
TJ just can't hear me, so I'll keep talking to the audience. while
Okay, there you
TJ
go. I can
figures
hear you
out.
now.
Okay, there we go. I was wondering what that was. What was I even saying? What did you just say? You said about the comments, you don't read them.
I was saying that I couldn't believe that people hate watch the content. Understand why they would bother, spending
Yes.
hours
Yeah,
watching.
because I watch, when I watch leftist content, it's usually for like practical purposes. Like I don't spend too much time just like scrolling through TikTok watching people shit. It's usually like, oh, I should like familiarize myself with what TJ's saying, with what Liz is saying, whoever the fuck, right? But I just can't imagine. I get it maybe if it's like a politician, you follow Joe Biden, you hate him, and whatever, that makes sense. If it even like a big name like a Ben Shapiro or whatever, it's like, okay, I can kind of get it, but like just random, B-level fucking TikTok like
Why?
influencers, like why are you doing this? It blows my mind when like people get this like obsessive fucking hate for me, and I'm just like, just go watch anything else. Like I don't know why you care so much.
I don't get it at all.
I don't care this much.
I posted a video the other day. It was about Dragon Ball, about fucking Dragon Ball. And I basically, my point is that I don't know how familiar you are with Dragon Ball, if you ever watched it or anything, but my argument is that, not a hot take by any means, that it is like literary malpractice that Dragon Ball was allowed to continue after the Cell Saga, because it was a perfect ending for the entire series. Watching Goku grow up from a small boy to a father, dying trying to save the world, and is passing the torch to his son. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. And then they had to ruin it with the fucking Buu Saga. Now, once again, I'm not the only person with this view, because it's a correct one. And then I saw someone like
the Buu Saga came before the Cell Saga. Was I wrong?
No, it's right after. It's right, because Gohan's
wow.
a teenager in the Buu Saga, and
I really like
he's
the Buu
little...
Saga growing up, so I have to disagree.
Well, because you were a kid.
As an adult, I agree with you, but as a kid,
yeah. Trilogy Money, thank you.
He looked like bubblegum. It was so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it was just so goofy and ridiculous. And it's just like, God, it just didn't go any. Then Super Saiyan 3 pops up out of fucking nowhere. Like what? There was no build up to it, like Super Saiyan 1 and 2. I don't know. Vegeta, like at the end of Cells, like he loses his own son. He realizes why he could never match Goku, because he cared about himself and not other people. And then he's like, okay, I'll never fight again. Just kidding. I'm gonna start fighting. It was, I don't know. But once again, a kid would enjoy it, but I was, already old when it happened. Anyway, I posted this video, and then some guy commented, once again, you have a terrible take. Like you're, I was like, hold on. I pretty much never do like anime content. So you're clearly referring to my normal takes. So you came here and I went to his page. He follows me. It's like, why would you follow someone who you think consistently gives terrible takes? I don't understand it. And that, to the extent that you have to shit on like an anime take, like not even one that's been important whatsoever. I don't get these folks. How miserable is your life? I don't get it.
It does. People really like dunking on people. Like it is. I think even a greater motivator than fear is the opportunity to dunk on someone, because like it is all you fucking see, even from like seriously big like content creators that have no need to dunk on people. Like you just see it all the time. It's just like, so obviously the intent of this comment wasn't to engage, it wasn't to learn, it wasn't to even debate, it was just to dunk on someone, and that is all you're getting out of it, and that is all most people need.
All right, so in a sense I kind of get it, because it is really fun to dunk on people. It's super
that is
fun.
most of your content, just dunking on people. But
it's so great. It's so fun. So trust me, no pot kettle situation here. I understand. However, if someone comments on my video and dunks on me, and it's a good dunk, I appreciate it. I think it's great. I think it's great. One time I made a joke about people talk about how I look younger than 41 and everything. And I made some sort of, he asked me if I was a vampire. And I made some sort of joke about it. And I said that I'm not a vampire. And it's really, insensitive to throw terms around like that. It's not really cool. There's a lot of misconceptions about, people like us. And if you could just invite me into your house, I'd love to come in and talk about it. And it was
that's good.
So that was it. That was the extent of the joke. And then some guy commented on there and he's like, hey, that was a pretty good joke by Chubby Blade. And I was like, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. And I was like, I wouldn't consider myself chubby, but yeah, compared to Wesley Snipes, yeah, I'm
Like, it's not even like you're chubby, because you got like the chubby cheeks.
Yeah, and so I was like, yeah, so okay, all right, I'm good with that. I was like, it got me, but it was funny. It was funny. If you come with a burn and it's funny, I don't have any beef with you at all. But most of them are just, you suck, man. You're an idiot. It's like no thought went into this whatsoever. So yeah, I don't respect it. If your entire purpose is dunk on people, be good at it. Be Michael Jordan out there. Be Vince Carter. Do something that's impressive when you're executing these dunks.
There are certain, like, because we got plenty of, if you're a content creator, you have your haters and you know who the fuck they are. And it always, sometimes I'll like post something and I'll be like, I wonder what Jim is going to say about this.
You got consistent haters.
Like, I'll make it and I'll be like, if I can't even think of what is wrong with this. like, and it's just like, they find a way. They find a way to disagree with every take of yours. I sometimes like want to just put out like a logically inconsistent take just to see if they take the opposite position. It is incredible how the fucking pretzels they'll twist themselves into to disagree with it. And I had some actually who, and I know this, they were anti-Israel on October 8th. They were like, well, they were anti fucking spending money in Ukraine. So they're like, oh, well, we shouldn't give any money to Israel. And that's where they started. And I watched them shift as I continued to post anti-Israel content. And I can look at their comments from October 8th to fucking February 23rd. And they've completely flipped their position because they're arguing against me constantly, apparently. I don't know what else they're doing in their lives. But it feels like their entire ideology is just based on disagreeing with me. And that might sound egocentric, but oh my God, DJ, I can't not come up with the arguments they come up with.
I think what it probably was is they saw where the right-wing sphere was moving. Because you saw this with George Floyd. When George Floyd died, like the day he died, Ben Shapiro, we brought it full circle. Like Ben Shapiro went out and said, he said, very obviously what Derek Chauvin did was, excessive force. This is inexcusable. No one's defending this. Of course, none of this proves that, black people aren't, thick-lipped menaces to society out there and they're destroying our nation and stuff. So, of course, that's what he went with because obviously we all saw it. But then over time, you saw all the right-wing commentators who first came out and said, well, clearly we're not going to defend this. And then they saw, oh, my God, all the conservative, jug-hooting racists out in the country, they're all behind this Derek Chauvin guy. And they slowly transformed to supporting him. So I think that's probably what happened is that they saw what happened on October 7th. And then independently themselves, they may have thought, oh yeah, we don't need to get involved in this. And then they saw everybody else was all on board. Like, okay, well, I guess we're back in the IDF now. That's my guess because you see it happen a lot.
You do, and it's sad, but it's true. Like it's just the way these things work. People are going to follow the people, not the people are going to follow the people, not the ideas. That's the bottom line. What's up?
I just realized it's the end of the show. No, it's the end of the show. I wasn't putting up the comments because I didn't want to fuck up the editing for Justin, but this isn't kind of going to Justin.
This is not the edited show.
Oh well, we're still figuring this shit out. Whatever. Good point about Ben Shapiro and his mom. I think G Money left.
Still couldn't get a writing gig.
Still couldn't get away. He sucked that bad. He was that bad that he had an in Hollywood. Like he couldn't even be a successful Nepo baby. And I don't know. For some reason, I think his dad's a dentist, some kind of medical professional. I think with his dad. And he brought it. He was like, my parents are over 65. They're not retired. Yeah, Ben. Yeah, they're not. Cutting rebar or something like that. Your parents are, sitting at cushy jobs. And he also put out. I forgot to mention this. He put out one tweet talking, and he really thought he had something here where he posted I'll agree that we should let retirement be at 65 if you guys will agree that politicians have to retire at 65. And everyone's like, yeah,
Deal.
bro, who wouldn't take that deal? That's a hell of
That
a deal,
only
Ben.
makes sense as a conservative under the Biden presidency. That
Right,
doesn't
yeah.
even make sense as a general, like only during the Biden presidency does that take even make any sense.
Yeah, it's just like he's not as smart as he appears. Ben Shapiro can talk confidently, fast, and he is smart. He is smart. Like Ben Shapiro is definitely up there when it comes to right-wing commentators. Like he is miles ahead of like Dave Rubin. I mean, it's not even close, but he's just not quite as clever as he appears to be. I don't know. It is funny, but
he's not as clever as appears to be, and he puts out too much volume to like not say the dumbest shit. Like he puts out so much volume. If he just like said a couple things every once in a while, I think you'd see pretty decent logical consistency from him, even if he was wrong. But he puts out so much. He says the dumbest fucking shit, like you just said. He's just like, well, no, yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah, well,
like, I think he understands that.
And he's a religious like theocrat. And so
he is that, yeah.
It doesn't take long for his positions to be broken down to, you just want to do this because your God says we should, which he knows is irrational. He absolutely knows it, which is why they talk about that a lot, but they always try to tie it to some sort of empirical evidence. Like, okay, well, if that's the case, then why not just reference the empirical evidence and not the way that you want God? Because it's like why he doesn't think men should wear dresses. There's no real moral reason or any moral reason that you can argue against that. But boys should wear boy clothes, girls should wear girl clothes. It comes down. So his cleverness runs out real quick when you get to brass tacks on the reason he believes what he actually believes. But
I've always said biologically it makes much more sense for men to wear dresses. A zipper like that's way too much. You could just lift and you get the same experience. But so let's transition here, TJ. What do you want to talk about tomorrow?
Yeah, what should we go for next or for tomorrow? Let's see. What are the big news stories? I guess we were talking about Super Tuesday. That was a couple days ago, right? Or was that last week?
That was last week. We talked about the Uncommitted last week with Super
that's
Tuesday,
right. Uncommitted. Yes, right.
I think number one this week is TikTok. We could have covered that last week, but didn't. And then the House just passed the bill today, so that's going to be an ongoing thing.
Let's see. Yeah, the TikTok thing is right. Did you hear that? I'd actually let me see if this is true before I make a fool out of myself here. About Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you heard anything about this.
No.
Okay. Let me make sure this is right. Okay, yeah. RFK Jr. released his the people he wants most to be his running mates, and he mentioned Aaron Rodgers and Jesse Ventura. That's going to be pretty funny. I think that's a funny one. Let's see.
Oh yeah, no, that makes actually. You know what? Go for it, Aaron.
Right. I think that would be great. I think it would be great if Aaron Rodgers would, because he's all right. RFK is already a conspiracy-addled lunatic. Adding another one that's just going to siphon Republican votes away. It's great.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has made the mistake of politicizing himself, so he can no longer go into media. Like he broke the Michael Jordan cardinal rule of Republicans buy sneakers too. Democrats watch these shows too, and it's not going to go over well. But he could just become a sort of conservative pseudo intellectual talking head sort of thing. That could be a post retirement career for him, and he might as well lean into it. Get on that RFK ticket. I'm okay with it. That's fine. Fine with me. Jets are going to suck anyway.
John, I hate to be that guy here, but it's pseudo, not pseudo.
Fuck. Did I say pseudo?
I hate to be that guy. I don't want to
be that guy, TJ. I thought we were friends.
This is to save you in the future. I don't want you to say that in the future, but it's pseudo. Yeah.
You're right. It's pseudo. Fuck.
But I remember this one time I was at work and this guy was talking about what he had for dinner, and he goes, yeah, I had the salmon and it was really good. And I was like, and I didn't want to be a dick. I was like, hey, just so you know, it's salmon. I just don't want you to say it for someone else, And so that's really what happened.
No, I appreciate it. Put a Real G Money's comment on there.
Oh shit, what did he say?
Because I just want to say, Real G, I didn't say this, but this was one of the things that popped through my mind to say. So 100% with you on this one. that is the thing that pisses me off about Ben Shapiro the most. The
Yeah.
facts don't care about your feelings. And actually, you know what? I like it the most because I say it all the time. And it always works as a burn because the facts, as
Yep.
we know, have a well-known liberal bias. And like, so I say that all the fucking time. Like, oh yeah, guns don't actually make you any safer. There's no statistical evidence that shows that having a gun makes you safer. In fact, most of the research done on the subject says that having a gun makes you more likely to be the victim of a homicide. Facts don't care about your feelings. Sorry, Ben. It's just such a good burn to put at the end of anything we say because of Ben Shapiro. So thank you for that. But yeah, that also does piss me off that like that has become a Republican talking point when that's not how this fucking works.
No, it doesn't. And also it bothers me too because like, well, you're right. Like, it's an ironic statement when conservatives have proven that their grasp of facts is tenuous at best. Like, they have no clue what they're talking about half the time. But also, it doesn't factor in two major things. One is that true, like facts by themselves are not affected by people's emotional, view of the facts. However, feelings are very important. Like feelings, in fact, the only reason we have laws to begin with are because we have feelings. That's it. Like facts in and of themselves don't mean anything at all when it comes to what we should prescribe for the way we want our society to operate. Because let's say, for example, I say I think murder should be illegal. And you ask me, well, why should murder be illegal? I was like, well, because I don't want to die, and I don't want my friends and family to die. I imagine most other people feel the same way. So, we shouldn't do it. I wouldn't want that done to someone else, if not to me. And like, okay, well, what's so important about keeping your family alive? It's like, well, my family and friends stay alive. That helps society sustain itself. And if people could just go out and murder each other whenever they want, human society would collapse. I was like, okay, well, what's so important about human society, thriving? And you can keep going down this rabbit hole until eventually you get to the real reason you want murder to be illegal, because you don't like it. And that's it. That's your first principles, which are always irrational, like ultimately irrational. Like there's no rational justification to protect life. There isn't. It's because we want to protect life. And so, all right, so the feelings are the reason we have the policy prescriptions to begin with. Even you conservatives, it's all based on feelings. And secondary and third, I guess, tertiary, if you say that you don't have feelings, congratulations, you're a sociopath. I want nothing to do with you. Like you are a detriment to the society we're trying to build, and distracting from it by pretending that, you have this, performative psychopathy isn't going to help anyone. You're not of any use in this conversation. So like, no matter how you look at that statement, it's an absurdity because it doesn't help anything at all.
If you want to go full circle with that, I've always said that our entire moral system is just a outcome of evolutionary biology. Like,
yes, yeah.
It's just the societies that had moral codes that allowed them to survive and increase their population and conquer other societies. Like those are the ideas that got passed along through generations and generations and generations of people. The ones that didn't get passed along are the ones that ended up with dead people. And it's our feelings aren't always right. They're often wrong for a bunch of reasons that have mostly to do with our society advancing faster than our biology can. But like
way faster
in general, just like people feeling a certain way isn't always a bad thing, because that's how he said it's a base. Like murder, we just feel like we should protect life. There's no actual reason for doing that.
No,
we just all collectively feel that way, probably because we're biologically fucking programmed to want to protect life, because that's how we don't die as a species, and it's our biological imperative. There's nothing beyond that. It doesn't mean we should follow our biological imperative. It just, that's the way it is. And as long as we all agree on that, or most of us agree on it, it makes sense to make laws that like serve that purpose. And which is why I always try and agree on some sort of goal before engaging in like an actual debate.
Yes.
It's like without the goal, it's like, well, what are we even fucking arguing for here? Because if your goal is different than my goal, then we're going to have different ways of achieving it. So like, let's not pretend we have the same goal. Let's actually fucking say it.
Yeah. And what you'll find is a lot of conservatives basically just want social Darwinism. That's what they want. Like they want to not assist anybody at all. Survival of the fittest, which is like the whole reason we have society in the first place, is to combat survival of the fittest. Like that's the reason we banded together, 200,000 years ago in the African savannah to take care of the sick and the elderly and the injured, so we can help each other. Because like you're talking about biological imperatives. When it comes like this is a specific case for us as social mammals. And particularly for human beings, the social mammals, because on our own, humans are not very impressive. Like we're not particularly fast or strong. We don't got claws or fangs or wings. We are exceptionally smart. Like individually, we are pretty smart, but there's still not a whole lot one human being can do. But you put a bunch of us together, we can go to the fucking moon. I mean, like it is amazing what human. Now, if we were incredibly intelligent, I don't know, great white sharks who live solitary lives, yeah, these laws we wouldn't have stuff like this because on our own we're fucking apex predator. I guess we're apex predators anyway, but we're fucking killing machines with miles of of dagger teeth. We don't have that as people. We need each other, and no one of us is as strong as all of us, and that's why we have laws. And I can't believe I have to explain this to grown adults who are trying to live in the same society I am, which is why I agree. Focusing on what your goal is here is super important because if your goals diverge, there's no reason to argue at all. Yeah, I have a third topic. It's a double kind of Lauren Boebert, and I can't remember the guy who's resigning. Do you know the guy in Colorado who's resigning next week? Let me see.
I
can't remember his name. I want to say Chuck something.
Is it Buck?
Buck.
Ken Buck.
Ken Buck. Thanks, Ken Buck. Yeah, so that's going to be a good story, I think. That's pretty interesting.
Okay, so here I have another one too because I think Boeing is another big story right now.
Oh my God, Boeing, yeah.
That can just be a general topic. We can talk about the problems, we can talk about the assassination. But I have a friend that works for Boeing. He works in their space department. He's fucking insanely smart. But like I texted him this morning. I was like, "Yo, bro, be careful at work today. Try not to get assassinated." But I think Boeing, TikTok. We can totally talk about the Republicans thinning majority. And
Love it.
Like what it says about the party. I'm cool with that. What was it with Boebert? What was her thing?
If Ken Buck resigns, that's the district that Boebert is running in. So he's resigning early. So if he will resign next week, I think, and they'll have to hold a special election. And if she wins, then she gets that new seat. But if she loses, she has to resign from her old seat. And so they would lose. Her career could be over next week.
Okay, well that's actually no. I don't want her career to be over. She's less.
We need Lauren Boebert.
She's equally damaging to the Republican Party while being less annoying to me personally, and just legitimately attractive as compared to Marjorie Taylor Greene. So like she's just a better version of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And if we're gonna have someone like that in the Republican Party, I'd prefer it be Boebert. than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Also, Marjorie Taylor Greene's initials are the same as Magic the Gathering's, and that's very confusing for me while scrolling Twitter.
Well, Greene's not going anywhere, unfortunately. So
yeah, she's going to be a fucking. I hate her so much.
She's horrible.
Because she's horrible. I don't understand how, because at least with like Ben Shapiro, I get how like there's a type of person who would see that and be like, that's a smart, he's a dumb person's idea of a smart person, Marjorie Taylor, I don't know a person in this planet who doesn't immediately recognize Marjorie Taylor Greene as the problem in your friend group. Like even if you're friends with her, she's the problem with everything. And like it's so obvious. It's from a fucking high school level. You understand that Marjorie Taylor Greene is just causing problems. And it just doesn't make any sense to me how like every human in America
I get it.
can see this.
I get
it. You get it?
I get it.
Unless you are her. Unless you are the Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't get why you don't see that immediately.
You ever have like a really effective but incredibly dirty player on your favorite team? Like a guy who just
I'm a Philadelphian. We had an entire hockey team in the 80s that was that.
Yeah, just crawls through the mud and just a shit human being, but he gets by the refs and he injures players on the other team. You're like, look, I'm glad he's on my team. Like, I'm glad he is doing this there. So that's how I feel like no one's proud of having Marjorie Taylor Greene, but they're glad she's on the team because, she pushes the insanity that, I really want to talk about the RNC too.
So that was another. So I was thinking that like the RNC shakeup and the Republicans leaving are kind of one topic.
All right, cool.
And that's a little more easily expanded upon. So yeah, that works. So we have TikTok, We have the Republican crisis of the week. We have Boeing. What's our fourth?
TikTok. Oh, RFK and Jesse Ventura and Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, I'm fine with that. That sounds like we should plenty of opportunity to crack jokes on that segment.
I love it. I love it.
We can
that
start with that one to break it in.
Yeah,
or
that
end with it.
Fun.
Whatever
that
the fuck.
Fun. Yeah.
Cool. Who's our guest tomorrow, TJ?
Our guest tomorrow is Goofy Wise. He is a streamer, video game streamer, and he was on TikTok is when I first became familiar with him, and exceptionally tall too. I saw a video he made, and his head was like above the door jamb, and I was like, holy shit! I was looking at that, and I was like, I sent him a message a while back. I was like, I for some reason I know this because like door jams are like regulation like 6'8", I think. I think they're like 6'8". It's like, are you like 6'8"? Like, yeah, like he played D1 basketball somewhere. Like, okay, all right, this makes sense.
We need to put him and Nick Powers on a basketball.
Nick Powers, yeah.
Except I don't think Nick Powers would necessarily is the basketball type.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, looking forward to it. See you tomorrow, John, and thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Oh.